Extraordinario.
Me impresiona mucho.
Pues ¿sabes qué? Yo creo que no es tanto el físico, es más bien la personalidad que tiene y todo lo que proyecta.
Ya me lo imagino con su smoking blanco, un martini en una mano y un costoso habano en la otra. Provocativo. Atractivo.
A new stereophonic sound spectacular.
Hello there, and welcome to the exciting world of HIP. This is a new departure in language instruction for English-speaking people who want to talk to and be understood by jazz musicians, hipsters, beatniks, juvenile delinquents, and the criminal fringe.
Bonjour madame, bonjour monsieur. Nous allons, grâce à ce disque créé spécialement pour vous, essayer de tirer ensemble le maximum de qualité sonore de votre chaîne haute fidélité.
Sit back, relax, and close your eyes.
I understand there are some government employees here. You're not going to like what I'm going to say. So either take a stiff drink or go play pool for a while if you don't want to be offended. The blockchain is the first world-changing technology in the past 100 years that did not come from the bowels of a secret government development, didn't come from the CIA, did not come from Samsung or Apple or IBM. It came from ordinary programmers, ordinary people. And it's been with us for almost 10 years. It has become part of the people. Governments are just now starting to see the blockchain and cryptocurrency.
This was in Spain in 2019, I think.
Or a threat, or something to fear. And it is all of those, all three. The opportunity is, like with Facebook's Libra, to say, we have created something that empowers the people. Oh, that's bullshit. It doesn't empower anybody except Facebook. Because everything you do now will be monitored financially. Not just what you're buying, not just the people you're talking to, who your friends are that's already monitored. No, everything that you do financially. Is this in the people's interest? You know the answer to this. We are rapidly approaching an era where people versus government becomes a worldwide phenomenon. Now, why would governments fear the blockchain and cryptocurrency? It's because with the advent of privacy coins like Monero and dozens of others, and the advent of distributed exchanges, which are just now becoming real, then governments can neither monitor nor control what is happening in your financial life. If you're using a privacy coin like Monero and a distributed exchange like the McAfee DEX, which just came out 2 weeks ago, we're in beta, by the way. It's not real. I mean, it's real, but not functional. In 6 months, it will be the equivalent of Binance on a distributed and decentralized basis. Now, we built ours on the Ethereum blockchain, and we'll be doing it on other blockchains as well, so that you can't shut it down. It's there. What is the blockchain? An immutable record of what's happened. Well, what happened is we put a bunch of smart contracts on it that'll allow distributed exchanges to be real. So when the SEC or the IRS comes to me and says, what have you done? I go, oh God, I'm sorry. I never thought that you might want to see what's happening. I made a mistake. But it can't be changed. Can't be altered, can't be controlled, can never.
Exactly. Beautiful and amazing people. Welcome. Good morning. Thursday. Yes, another Friday live on Thursday morning because I've got a lot of appointment tomorrow, Friday, the 18th of November. So I welcome you again in this virtual Agile Lounge for Business Agility. And I'm really happy today that I show you that. I show you that because I even if I don't agree with everything John McAfee says, I think it was an important point because it's more of a objective definition of what is a blockchain, which is a technological protocol. It's a standard that could use different other network. And I remind you that the first network was the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin has created this protocol of the blockchain. So you have to remember that. I'm always in for real McCoy. I'm not necessarily believing into the pure through there's one through this is that. No, because we have to be open mind and everything. And so once again, this 92 episode now. So I think we calculated, Anna and myself, that the 100 episode of the Friday Live Agile, since I started those live streams back in my lab in Tulum, and we're going to talk about this today, the connection between digital entrepreneur, crypto mining, Bitcoin application, exchange, and everything, especially with what's happening. So I'm, again, Alexandre Frédéric Joly, speaking on my behalf, not on the behalf of Agile Lounge for Business Agility, nor any partner that I work with. Although today I will mention some practical example without naming, of course, any client. So please tell me in the comment below any of extra question that you'd like us and myself to go further about what you are going to hear. And for those who are watching live right now on Rumble and YouTube, I might look at the chat towards the end of the show and have better interaction. So you hear it from McAfee. Definition, or one of the definition of the blockchain, but it's mostly like one of the objective ones. So we have to understand that this is a protocol. It's a technology created by a group of people. That's what I believe too. I think Satoshi was a group of people, anonymous bunch of programmer, open source, working together into stream, and they developed this kind of technology to help us exchanging. And when I say exchange here, I know now in the news with the FTX scam scandal, the MTF also that's coming, and he talked about Binance. That video was at the Madrid, Spain blockchain conference. I think it's 2019. So as you all know, he kind of passed away. He killed himself, or I don't know, something happened. But that's the reason why the Satoshi movement, the Bitcoin movement, are anonymous. Because when you go against the power at B, you could risk your life. And that's not the conspiracy theory, it's a fracking fact. And but today, I don't want to go like I did yesterday about the FTX and stuff. So to understand, like, the basically thing that what we do when we coach without financial advice, we just coach you of using the technology to get your crypto. So the most important thing, it's your own wallet that you put into your phone, could put it also into your laptop or into whatever a technological device. Of course, a phone is better because if you'd like to exchange, trade and buy and sell with others, peer-to-peer, it's always better to being able to show off your QR code on your phone and make a transaction like I did this week in El Zonte, digital nomad city, and soon to come also the hub of this Bitcoin city. And contrary to John McAfee, I'm not considering myself a maximalist, but for sure I did play a little bit with Ethereum, but when I realized that Ethereum was the most popular shitcoin beside Bitcoin, I decided to remove myself from this equation. The only other thing I would have trust is to have some Monero if they continue the work after him. But as you say, Monero, it's more like what we call a smart contract to better and complex transaction within the blockchain. So you have to understand, like, blockchain, it's a technological protocol, okay, that you could build network and app that communicate with it with your cryptocurrency. I'm telling you, from now on, when you hear the term digital currency, it's not encrypted. It's not probably even secure and safe on any blockchain network or any node. Digital currency will be that type of thing proposed by the private bank, central bank, and maybe enforced at some point in time in the next 24 months by the government. But now, today I say, like, Scrum, it's Scrum. Why Scrum is for Bitcoin and blockchain product development. You hear him saying about, like, his project of the Monero, having a safe and secure certification, using the network with different type of coins and stuff, so on. So what I did is, with my experience of Scrum, my networking, and so on, I discovered that when you really understand that Scrum is a system, that you could build a tailored, configurable framework to help your product development, because it's really made now the evolution of Scrum after 20 some years. It's becoming really a great pair for any kind of product development. And of course, here we're going to talk today on the software development and apps development, or the complex apps for the decentralized finance. And so connecting the dot is, I realized, and I did propose to be empirical with a couple of startups in the field of decentralized finance in the course of the last 5 years. And they were needed to build some application a lot better than the FTX or the Binance of this world to make transaction happen. Or they built a wallet and they tried to push the wallet with the Bitcoin.org phenomenon. So when you develop these kind of things and you have to connect to a network, the Lightning Network right now, that will be enhancing the performance of the blockchain network of Bitcoin. So when you work in these complex, and again, I'd like to remind my audience that I know nothing, I know shit about blockchain. I'm just listening to the engineer I work with, and I'm just there to help them, process-driven, achieving their goal. And we use a Scrum system, and we do a working agreement with that. And now I know that sometimes with bigger organizations in Latin America and even in the United States, when they want to develop their apps for decentralized finance, or build an exchange, build a wallet, or build any other application that will support whatever the services they want to provide with the blockchain network, I realize that sometimes they will ask me, like, oh, so is there something like Scrum versus Agile versus DevOps? I said, well, again, this we have to go back to a little bit, because this is a public for everyone. It's Agile for all kind of show, the Friday Live Agile, that now I know it's on a Thursday, November the 17th live, because I've got appointment tomorrow that I cannot miss about my health and so on. So what's going on now is, again, Agile is kind of the children of extreme programming and Scrum. And Scrum was first in the 1980s from the Toyotis movement, project system management, or project management system inspired by the Toyotis movement, and it was a lean project management. And it was really towards, like, these process, it was a process tool basically for project management. And of course, Jeff Sutherland took it by reading paper of the HBR, and he built another system for software development. And back in the day, so that's why, like, even after in 1997, Ken Schreiber and Mike Beadle, among the first user of the system, along with Jeff Sutherland. And Ken Schreiber is the guy responsible for being able to actually commercialize. But when I say commercialize here, they are not part of the Agile industrial complex. Well, that could be a debate for another. But just to give you a nutshell history, that Scrum was there, extreme programming was there, the Crystal method was there. There was a lot of method, a lot of techniques for software development, from computer programming object to a more software development back then. And of course, the e-commerce rising at the end of the 90s, early 2000, with, of course, the bubble that burst and everything. And that's why a year later, they gathered together to stop the kind of war of framework, being more agnostic and concentrate into the user and the customer experience, putting people first. So that's why Agile is very, like, for me, it's always like Agile is the son or the daughter, if you like, of these techniques, but mostly extreme programming and Scrum, because among the 17 co-signer, you had in the room probably about 10 of them working within Ken Beck Extreme Programming or Jeff Sutherland, Ken Schreiber Scrum system. Okay, and Mike Beadle, of course. So that being said, when people always ask me Scrum versus Agile and versus DevOps, what I appreciate here is at least they understand the difference and culture and approach of those three systems. Scrum, it's not Agile. It's mostly lean, cut the ways, right to the point, focus, courage, respect of your engagement, and get the shit done. Yes, that's Scrum. So it's nothing to do with Agile when you fluffy, circulating, inspect, and adapt. Okay, because Scrum, it's an empirical process control for some, or empirical management process for other. And it's a system entirely that you'll be able to configuring according to your software development cycle or the complexity of your technology that you brought forth. Okay, so that's why having iteration, it's the basic incremental programming type of approach. Then you could stop at any time. So that's why it passed in the 80s, 90s, towards the 2000s, and to a more product development with these most valuable product, iterative, stopping, never be finished, something like this. So Scrum is it's fit for purpose and product development and software, not just software, it's product development. And then Agile, if you just like the book, they say it's Agile software development with Scrum. So you see, that could be confusing, but it's pretty simple. When you say Agile, it's because you don't necessarily want to use the Scrum system and it's all force, but you still want to be able to inspect and adapt and be kind of empirical, but without the full power on structure and the people interaction that Scrum is offering you. So that will be the little kind of bit difference. And of course, for that, you have to read the book of Beadle and Schreiber to understand that there's no difference ever since then, because Agile software development, it's a code name by those two guys, but they use it with Scrum. So they need that kind of the Scrum system to create the framework, utilizing the Agile software development approach of flexibility and, moreover, the user feedback, constant user and customer feedback. Okay, and for DevOps, 2007 DevOps, allegedly from a guy in Belgium, where operation and developer, not only because of the changing technology, operating people in IT have to code to maintain application, and delivering of new application and new feature and new API were faster and faster because of this Agile software development with or without Scrum, and also the lean pushing things. So DevOps is kind of the grandson of Scrum and XP, and it's the son of Agile and Lean, sort of speak. Okay, just to give you kind of an idea of this family branch. So they are part of all the same family of efficiency, proficiency, cutting ways, customer feedback, employee engagement, and stuff. So really, like Lean, Agile, DevOps as culture and mindset, unleash and empower people. All right. So when you connect this to the blockchain revolution, to the blockchain technology protocol, what do you have that merge with Scrum well? You have the self-organizing team because as John just said at the intro of this video, Mr. McAfee state that that's the first thing in 100 years, the blockchain protocol, that had been created by the people, for the people, okay, to be more independent, to be more autonomous. So do you see now all of these keywords, these values and principles are really attached to what we teach in Scrum, great Scrum, real Scrum, okay, and with the Agile mindset as well of having this. So for me, when a client or a product development with the blockchain for Bitcoin, mostly because I don't care about the shitcoin, and they ask me, should we go Scrum, Agile, and DevOps? I said, like, you know what? Let's utilize the base of Scrum to start building your team, start building your interaction, your definition of done and everything. And that will imply Agile value and lean to cut the waste because you don't want to waste anything. And then the DevOps effect, when you launch, after launch, now you could still use Scrum as a framework, but you will move from the Agile perspective to a more DevOps, continuous development thing. So that's what we did. As I said, I won't name the client that I had in many places, like in Austin, Texas, Tulum, Mexico, and everything, but helping those digitalpreneur building their application, we were better off starting in a startup mode within a Scrum-based system, and even for management, that became more an Agile leadership, or we should say a Scrum leadership, flat-based, self-organized team of 7-8 people that will create the company and move on. And more often, sometimes after that, depending on the product development, if it's just for a mining grid, well, of course, that you don't need to complexify anything. You just need like clear engagement and agreement of the team member, and then you go on and you go on. So, like when you go on, you could have a kind of a product owner, or in some cases, one of the cases they decide to split it into branches. They call it branches, but of course, for developer out there, I don't want to confuse you. It's not a branch of a platform to send the data or to send a package and to the proper, from dev local to testing to staging. They use the term branch because they didn't want to hurt some engineer about the feature-based thing, because a lot of software, especially apps for decentralized finance, will be based on different type of feature, and they wanted to have dedicated team for those specific branch. So within the branch, so they have like one owner, the owner of the company, who was acting as the product, the application owner. Actually, I saw one of them using my canvases from Scrum Inc., saying like, we don't care to call it product owner. We're gonna call it the application owner. So and really, so this is why I think Scrum will be the best system, okay, to organizing your sprint and putting the right responsibilities between the team members. So, and we use also our signature pattern here at the Agile Lounge for Business Agility that I'm developing in my book about this agreement-based change or agreement-based onboarding the team. So, and the main challenge that I used to uncover during this product development process was the ever-changing complexity of that open source type of technology, type of protocol, that the engineer with the business idea that they want to try to push, there's no like constraint, but they were telling me like to ensure to respect the principle of the real blockchain protocol. Not only they need an MVP, but they need to work on developing further ever since. So that's why sometimes they ask me like, could we go into, we don't want necessarily a sprint. What we want is a kind of let's developing it, pushing it, have feedback from our user, and correct it right away. So now these kind of DevOps cycle was making more sense to them. So what they have from Scrum is the organization system for their organization, the leadership, the owner, the designer working together in kind of a sprint design mode, if you want. But when it was time for production, they were applying more the Web3 project using the Scrum framework, yes, but developing practically and pragmatically within a kind of a CI/CD, continuous integration and development within DevOps, working with their operational guy. So operational guy with developer were working in a kind of a pair programming matter in terms of developing the new branch, as they called it. But it was not necessarily with the sprint goal. And I know now the last version of 2020 Scrum Guide, they talk about product goals. So that's what we did. So we changed our focus into this branch goal of the application and making sure that the feedback loop with the user, and when I say user here, it could be a customer who have the apps in his pocket. It could be a trader in center case, and so on and so on and so on, and also the one who maintain the blockchain connection with noding system. So I know it's complex. I'm talking now, so please comment your extra question that I will relate to those specialists. I'm not a specialist of blockchain, and so really, and what also one of my team did to design for the MVP for a decentralized application, because here's the thing. So the challenge in the product development of those blockchain application or decentralized finance blockchain is the fact that it's already used by a lot of anonymous person that will affect your product development, that will affect the collaboration at some point with other development team. So it's when it's open source like this, when it's decentralized like this, and your application have to respect those protocol principle definition, well, in that case, you see that you have a more complexity, not only of the technology that is rising, and according to one engineer I work with for the last 5 years, he says like 3% only of the engineer or the people who pretend to mine Bitcoin really know what it is about the blockchain by itself. So once again, there's a 97% that just pretend that they know what they're doing, or they know what they're explaining all over the web. So that's why I give you a disclaimer. I'm a Scrum Master. I'm a business agility coach. I'm helping them just create framework that will fit their needs, okay, to mitigate their challenge, and moreover, create Figma design to make sure that they will be able to receive those constant feedback from the user and orchestrating all the tasks all at once. In the case of the Austin blockchain application or Bitcoin, the central wallet, was that they didn't want to be stuck into one model, but they wanted something to be efficient into the network for their user and protecting their assets. So that's the really kind of, it's unlike traditional software development process when you have like the design and stuff, and then because of some software development process, sometimes you have this kind of what I call waters come fall. In their case, it's very innovative research and development. The team that I'm talking about from Austin, Texas, didn't have just one technical lead orchestrating all tasks. You see, it's you build a decentralized application into a decentralized protocol technology blockchain, and so you need also to decentralize your branch building, okay, or your feature-based building, if you like. So more often, even if the startup or the company was only 25 people, it was not surprising to see smaller team, that the famous 7 to 9 in Scrum, because they were really dedicated and working into a specific MVP, okay, for the application. And they have to create that need of synergy to execute the individual aspect of the product development and the integration. So that's the thing. The development of the product was really made fashion Scrum, okay, with iteration objective for the product goal. So that's the way that we kind of tailor it. And when it was time to integrate or deploy it, they were adopting a more flow cycle of pushing continuously updates into the app. Okay, so at first, kind of the Scrum way of iterative incremental development, and once they start receiving feedback with the Figma design, now they went to more DevOps type of approach. So that's why, like, even if my poster says Scrum versus Agile versus DevOps, there's no such things. There's no war. There's no war here. It's just the way of seeing your ways of producing the good changing while the product is evolving and while you really listen to your customer feedback and user feedback. All right. So that's basically it, actually. So Scrum with DevOps for another company, that's what they ask. So most of the time, so it's not a one size fits all. So some of my client into the blockchain and DeFi side, they don't even care about the name of these approach or framework or what have you. But of course, for me, when I'm helping them, and I'm a Scrum proficient, so I will kind of use the Scrum Foundation to help them build their team. But at the end of the day, what I realize, 5 out of 6, or if you want, 9 out of 10, but I have 6 specific projects into blockchain product development. So 5 out of 6, like 80%, 90%, turns out to, if I will have to say, like others of my community, creating a framework again or creating a system and publish it into Medium and said, we are so good, I will call it Scrum with DevOps. Basically, it's Scrum with DevOps that we did most of the time. So first, as I said, in the Scrum with DevOps approach for Scrum with Bitcoin or blockchain product development. So first, you launch with an MVP using Scrum and OKR. It's really important to have objective key result for your product development and the user value. Once it's launched, you start receiving the feedback. So you use a Figma analysis. So your second part of your product development after the MVP launch, now we start asking devs and apps to work in a more CI/CD DevOps culture and approach by using an adapted Scrum flat-based self-organized way. So that's my system to help any one of you out there who are an entrepreneur, but I won't necessarily work with the exchange. I will work with you if you'd like to develop a strong wallet that will make the person, the user, independent in the way they will exchange and transit with their Bitcoin. But I don't want to go into the exchange where you build software and API just to manage fund and asset management. I'm not really in that side from the Bitcoin movement. I'm more someone who would like to make transaction alternatively and prepare the future of world where it's going to be a split again, as I mentioned yesterday in my editorial. But now it was more a tutorial explaining why is Scrum a natural way of using that system to create the proper framework. And I ended up 5 out of 6 to have created this Scrum with DevOps for the development of the blockchain product development. We call it Scrum with DevOps for BPD. Okay. And when you look at the culture, I introduced myself in the Hacker Fest in Las Vegas in the summer of 2009. This is where I get my first Bitcoin ever, talking with that guys at the table, and they were not like showing off Bitcoin. They were showing off the blockchain protocol. I remember that. Like the banner was learn more about the blockchain protocol. So I was curious about it because back in the time, 13 years ago, I had a lot of clients in different sectors that were in French, especially in French, they were talking like chaîne de valeur, which is a value chain, but there was a mistranslation of the value stream, or there was a confusion. That's the problem when you speak three languages and you have people doing a bad semantic. But anyway, so I was like, when I saw blockchain versus what some of my clients in IT always talking about value chain, so I went there just to start a conversation about the semantic, and they started explaining me, no, that's the protocol to create block of security and gating process to protect your data when you do a transaction. I said, interesting. So it's really, and you built a block upon a block for every transaction to make it a single transaction and so on. So at first I was very skeptical. I thought they were trying to do, like McAfee says at the beginning of this video, this kind of more control data. But when I asked that question, they said, no. It have to be a single node and transaction, protected and encrypted. So that's why he says we are creating that platform to help all the transaction encrypted, and that's why we call it cryptocurrency. And we have the Bitcoin. Okay. So you could create a blockchain, not just for, and that's where you're going. Like you said, we could also put any other data. Now, the produce that's going to be exchanging towards the blockchain is the coin, the Bitcoin. But we could put anything else. Unfortunately, the anything else in the 2010s became all of those shitcoins. And they're not all using a blockchain protocol. So that's why you have to be careful. And then came the exchange. Before, FTX was only 3 years old. Binance is from China. So be really careful if you're on it. And if you're on crypto.com, get out of there. Because these are not wallets. These are not protecting your asset or your cryptocurrency, whatever it's Bitcoin or not. They're not necessarily using any network, any blockchain network to protect and encrypt your transaction. Okay. Right now, I will say the Bitcoin with Lightning network is the most secure. And again, I don't know what happened with the Monero. And I have to remember the name that John McAfee talked about. But it's really important to understand that if you don't have your keychain and a wallet on your phone, if you don't have those things, the wallet with your keychain security to identify yourself as the sole owner of that wallet and the content of that wallet, if you don't have those things, you don't have Bitcoin. And even though if you have shitcoin on it, you don't have shitcoin. Okay? So if you think because you purchase something and you keep it into your Coinbase, into your Binance, into your whatever FTX, no. Or it's if even worse, if it's managed by a third party, no. And you don't even respect and apply the principle from the Bitcoin movement that says that you have to be autonomous, independent, and responsible of your own thing. So that's why now this buzzing and democratization after the early adopter create all of these unfortunate things. But returning to, for those entrepreneurs that want to build a blockchain product development or a product that goes into those networks, like the smart contract, like the Monero that John McAfee was talking, or anything that could have value to transit into the blockchain. And then, of course, the blockchain is not just for cryptocurrency. As I mentioned, you could use it to manage, secure, and save any data that will go to a decentralized network through the blockchain. Okay, you have to understand it's kind of a big highway that you could put your transaction somewhere, not to hide it, because at some point for yourself into your ledger, because the wallet, it's also your ledger that you see everything you did for yourself, and it's up to you to share it to someone else. Okay, so that's why when I say the user feedback and those blockchain product development that I help as a Scrum Master, at some point, like the back end and front end parts is not really, because the blockchain technology has a distinctive technical stack and require very specific approach for a development process. You cannot do any goofy thing that you will do into a live Java or a Symfony PHP or whatever. So the developer out there will know what I'm talking about. So you don't apply a software development cycle. You have to learn, how to approach a development process by yourself. So that's why I think Scrum is great, because with its empirical process, moreover the MVP, will help them to say like, no, this cycle, this increment, let's stop it right there because I just learned something else, So, okay. So now we are ready to dive into, the fact that now we understand how the fact that any nodes for the smart contract, for instance, will have to traverse between the peer-to-peer transaction with no third party. So that's mean that we have to have a more product development process that include how we manage and we facilitate the collaboration between the development team and the owner. And it's kind of a triangle. So you have the customer on top, or the user of the app. And then in the center, you have the quality of the transaction based on the definition of done that they will have to agree on. And development and owner are at the base of the triangle, and they are, this is the third side of the blockchain technology. On top of thing, because a blockchain technology, it's a peer-to-peer transaction. You follow me? Encrypted and protected by a block security chain. That's what we call it, the keychain, your 12 words, or now I've seen even keychain of 24 words into your wallet to protect your asset. Okay? So sometimes these teams using Scrum with DevOps for the blockchain protocol development, it's a lot more diving into the back end. The front end will be secondary, even for the user, because we're talking about super user here. So that's why really it's the responsibility between the team member come even more prominent than into your regular Scrum of e-commerce development or what have you. Okay, and we require an highly flexibility, and the change is even faster. And it's even faster because again, it's open source. Again, someone could change something in the way you approach the application that you want to go through to service, to service people within the blockchain network. So that's the thing. So I could give you an example of how a sprint could look like for what we call, it's not even a planning in this case, it's more organizing sprint and accepting or agreed responsibilities between the team member. So first, you're going to have this 15 to 30 minute team stand-up. It's not necessarily every day. So among your sprint, you have a first one on day one of your cycle where you establish those product goal, branch, feature goal, or as I said, backend connection goals, whatever the specific into the blockchain will be. So they call it stand-up meetings. I give you the example of what the team that I facilitate choose with my guidance. So it's really, they add a 15, 30-minute meetings, mostly every day at first, but they will decide, inspect, and adapt along the way where they stop. And mostly they choose sprint of 3 weeks. It's a cycle of 3 weeks. And they want to have, based on the stand-up ceremonies, a 15, 30-minute team agreement on the sprint, product goal, and the responsibility between the members. And that could change every day. And so in their case also, they choose to start on a Thursday, finishing on a Wednesday. So every Tuesday, they add a backlog grooming with the owner of the application or the owner of the business, and also a senior backend dev to support the product owner. Let's call it a product owner to be easier here. And the front end dev and the blockchain dev leads will also consult into that Tuesday grooming session. So they really fix the refinement session in their case as the second day of the sprint, you see? Because now they agreed on the first stand-up of 30 minutes, and they already know, because the backlog is very clear. They know what they do, but they do a refinement session, okay, on the day after to prepare continuously the cycle improvement of their product, okay? And the contribution there, so, and then on the Wednesday, the day after, the team met. Now, not just the owner of the business with the lead back end, with the lead front end, and sometimes some customer representative or some user that kind of act as a tester. So that's the Tuesday meeting that they call the backlog grooming, to make sure that all the feature and feedback they receive, they will change the organizing sprint and the dividing responsibilities on the morning after. And the Wednesday, they gather all the team, and I'm sorry about that. Some kind of allergy or something, I don't know, but anyways. So every Wednesday, they meet with the team for a review session on the product development, on the MVP, on the product goal, okay? So it will also include sometimes showing the complete work of the client, to the client, sorry, and getting actionable feedback. So really, they have the user coming from their, and when I say coming, it could be on a Zoom session, but that was great. That was great at what they did. And after that review session, they will redo a planning for a new sprint to input this into their organizing sprint and dividing responsibility of these daily. So that's basically one of the practical example of how they change it. And you will ask me, where's the retrospective? Well, in their case, their agreement, there was retrospective on process, only on demand. Okay, that will be only on demand and they call it challenge accepted. So if they have a challenge towards the process they put in place and the way they work together, they will ask the Scrum Master, could we do now a collaborating session, where the discussion will be around the collaboration within the development team, and not worry that creating this product and every remote process and everything. So team members are working from anywhere in that situation, okay, in that context. So they don't need retrospective foresight because they are focusing on this complex blockchain backend application, and the front end will come later. So example, as I said, is developing smart contract, creating web app for the product, integrating with the blockchain. It's Polygon network, for instance, okay, or Lightning network. So retrospective was a waste of time. So remember, Scrum, Lean, Agile, DevOps. So retrospective on demand, and they call it challenge accepted. And please facilitate the issue that we might have here. But review, it's for them. And that example I give you, that was the review, the most important meeting, because they could have a real user and a real client of their apps, giving them feedback, showing them, because sometimes the demo was both ways. And so it's high effort, low impact. Yes, but that's the way they used to do it. So Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday, it's only a smaller portion of the team where we support the business idea, the product idea, with the lead back-end, front-end, and sometimes the blockchain dev lead if they have one, and in their case they had, and what they could call the Scrum Master to facilitate the discussion and to make sure that the information is transparent. And Wednesday, we invited the client for actionable feedback. So basically, refinement, review, and the daily was also implicitly the planning and the retrospective among the cycle. So that's that for this morning with that example. Did I miss something that I wanted to share with you today? And of course, the what do Scrum and Bitcoin share in common ground value? Please tell me in the comment below if you see the common ground value between Scrum and the Bitcoin or the blockchain or decentralized finance. It's basically the decentralization and the self-organized open space technology that happened to that. So once again, I know you guys, 75% of you are watching it more than half the time, and you're not subscribed. So subscribe and hit the bell. Give me a glove, a rumble on Rumble. And again, if you'd like to know more about it, I'm still having time for a free discovery session. So let's walk the talk about implementing Scrum into your team and organization. Great Scrum, real Scrum, create the framework that you'll need, that your customer will need. So the link are in the description, especially of the YouTube and Rumble video. You have all the link. Actually, and I would like to also make a special thing for those people who started buying me a coffee. It was Sarah yesterday. Thank you for the coffee. And thank you for the Satoshi to, I think it was Carl this week. Who was receiving it? Like, I don't have my list. Thank you for the tips. Oh, yes, Samantha and Cliff. Thank you very much for your Satoshi. If you'd like to do like them, buying me a coffee or giving me some Satoshi, all the links are in the description. And I think, and if you didn't do it, if you like it, smash the like button to help me and support the channel. And if you dislike it, you could do a thumbs down. But please, in the comment below, tell me what do I have to improve, mostly on the message, because I'm an amateur podcaster. I couldn't care less about the other thing for now. But I care about what you would like to hear. So I'd like to hear your viewer feedback for a subject that you'd like me to address. And this one was actually from the Real Agile podcast. And by the way, we have the episode now. You could grab yesterday live stream into the podcast. And at the end of the month, we might have a special Scrum with something else. I'm going to go further about how Scrum could be tailored and adapted to many things. So on that, beautiful people, remember again who you really are. You are a wonderful person. You are a powerful person. And you are free to be whoever you wanted to be and to do whatever you wanted to do in respect of one another. On that, have a happy weekend.